You step into your familiar kitchen on a peaceful American winter morning. Outside, the first snowflakes of the season begin to fall, draping a blanket of pure white over the backyard lawn. You brew yourself a warm cup of coffee, walk over to the window, and smile as you spot a brilliant red cardinal glowing like a spark of fire, or a tiny chickadee swooping down onto its favorite feeder. That exact moment brings a strange sense of peace, an invisible yet pure connection between you and the wild world. You love them, that goes without saying. You meticulously choose every bag of seeds, regularly filling up the feeder each week with the firm belief that you are sheltering these fragile little lives. But there is a silent truth that nobody tells you when you begin this journey. A few things you are placing inside that feeder, things that look completely harmless and are even labeled specifically for birds, are secretly hurting them. Not in a sudden way, but bit by bit, slowly and persistently. Until one day, your backyard suddenly becomes empty of those little friends, and you will never know the reason why. This video is not here to judge you. It exists because you and the birds out there deserve to know the truth. Let us start with the most familiar thing in every American kitchen, a slice of sandwich bread that is getting a bit old. Breaking breadcrumbs into the corner of the yard for the birds feels so natural and humane. Seeing them eat with such excitement, we naturally form a belief that we are doing the right thing. But tragically, that is a dangerous misunderstanding. Bread to birds is just like empty calories. It is packed with carbohydrates, but completely lacks the protein, fat, and micronutrients that help birds maintain their body temperature or nourish their feathers. When a bird fills its crop with bread, a false sense of fullness will stop it from foraging for sunflower seeds or insects that actually provide real nutrition. In lake areas, young ducks growing up on bread from tourists will develop angel wing syndrome, a permanent bone deformity that ensures they will never be able to fly again. Even more heartbreaking, damp bread ferments very quickly and breeds aspergillus, a fungus that directly attacks the respiratory system of birds, causing a fatal illness with no cure. The second sweet misunderstanding often pops up in gardening groups, where people whisper to each other to use honey to make sweet water for hummingbirds instead of refined white sugar. We think honey is more natural, but in an outdoor water environment, honey ferments many times faster and becomes a breeding ground for candida fungus. This disease causes the tongue and throat of those tiny hummingbirds to swell up, commonly known as stuck tongue syndrome. That tiny creature, with wings beating hundreds of times per second, will have to experience a painful death, starving to death right next to a full feeder, simply because it can no longer swallow. The solution is actually incredibly simple and costs much less than you think. Stop feeding birds bread altogether and replace it with black oil sunflower seeds or dried mealworms. As for hummingbirds, the most accurate life-saving formula ever discovered is just 1 part white granulated sugar and 4 parts clean water, without adding any honey, brown sugar, or red food dye. The red feeder itself will naturally attract them, not that colorful liquid packed with harmful chemicals. The next mistake does not come from what you actively buy, but from what happens after you hang the feeder up on the tree. During the hot and humid summer days of the American Midwest or South, seeds that sit at the bottom of the feeder for more than a week will begin to change their underlying structure. They produce aflatoxin, a fungal toxin ranked among the strongest cancer-causing substances in nature. It builds up silently in the livers of finches and chickadees, destroying their immune systems day after day. The contaminated seed looks no different from normal seed and has no strange odor, but it acts as an invisible dose of poison. Furthermore, when rain showers pour down, stagnant water and feeding trays without drainage holes will turn the seeds into a layer of soggy mush. This is paradise for Salmonella bacteria. When a wild bird population gathers at a contaminated feeder, a small-scale epidemic will erupt right in your garden. You will see birds that were once agile suddenly become lethargic, sitting completely still with puffed-up feathers, losing their ability to fly, and collapsing right at the base of the feeder post. Another visual trap that many people easily fall into while walking through pet stores is those mixed seed bags featuring vibrant red and green colors. They look premium and eye-catching on the shelves. But in reality, birds do not choose food with their eyes. They choose by size and nutritional value. That layer of artificial dye has never been tested for safety on wild birds. And worse, manufacturers often use dye to hide cheap filler seeds like milo or unhulled oats, things that most backyard birds will just fling onto the ground. This excess seed piles up beneath the soil, attracting rodents and beginning to rot. To fix this, turn bird care into a responsible habit. Only buy enough seeds to last for 1 month and store them in an airtight container. Every 1 to 2 weeks, take the feeder down and scrub it clean using a solution of water mixed with white vinegar at a 9:1 ratio. And when choosing seeds, flip to the back to read the label. The very first ingredient must be black oil sunflower seeds, safflower seeds, or Niger seeds, and absolutely say no to bags with artificially colored seeds. When the harsh winter arrives, a small tip often circulates on bird-watching forums. Save the leftover grease from your bacon pan, lard, or butter wrappers to smear onto the feeder to provide high energy for birds fighting the cold. This is a piece of advice with devastating destructive power. Cooking grease from the kitchen has gone through high temperatures, completely altering its chemical structure and containing an enormous amount of salt. The kidney systems of tiny songbirds are not designed to process sodium chloride. Even a tiny amount of salt can cause severe dehydration and kidney failure. More dangerously, kitchen grease melts very easily under sunlight or the warmth of a bird body. When birds come to eat, this grease will stick to their chest and belly feathers. Bird feathers are a masterpiece of nature with a perfectly interlocking structure designed to waterproof and retain heat. When matted with grease, this structure is completely ruined. On a winter night when the temperature drops below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, a bird with grease on its feathers will lose its ability to regulate its own body temperature and die of hypothermia, whereas a bird with clean feathers can pass through easily. Remember, commercial beef suet sold at the store is a completely different product. It is rendered at low temperatures, contains no salt, and always remains solid. The next danger occurs in the summer, involving hummingbird feeders. Sugar water under the scorching heat of the American summer can ferment into ethanol alcohol in less than 24 hours. When hummingbirds drink this water, they actually get drunk. They lose orientation, fail to fly or hover accurately, and easily crash into window glass or become easy prey for neighborhood cats. Warm sugar water is also the perfect environment for black mold to grow inside the feeding ports. Therefore, changing the sugar water for hummingbirds every 2 to 3 days in the summer is not an option. It is a matter of life and death. Try to hang the feeder in shaded corners to slow down the fermentation process, and always wash the bottle with hot water before pouring a new batch in. Those tiny creatures are spending the entire energy of their lives to beautify your garden, so please give them back basic safety. The final mistake, and also the one that quietly takes the most lives, is not what you put into the feeder, but the moment you stop. When January and February arrive, bringing the coldest winter days, we tend to get lazier about going out to the yard. The empty feeder in the corner of the garden is forgotten for a week, then 2 weeks. You think perhaps the birds have migrated, or they will find another place on their own. But the truth is, little friends like the cardinal, chickadee, or woodpecker, they do not go anywhere. They are year-round residents staying right in your backyard, huddling on the bare branches. A chickadee weighs a mere 12 grams, less than a single tablespoon of water. To survive a freezing winter night, it must eat an amount of food equal to 1/3 of its body weight during the day to have enough energy to shiver and generate heat throughout 12 hours of darkness. Winter is when natural food sources drop to 0. They have built their survival strategy based exactly on the map of your garden. When you disappear, they cannot adapt immediately. The familiar birds that visited your home for the past 2 years, some of them might never see the following spring. Please do not abandon them in January. Keep filling the feeder with fat-rich seeds, and get a heated bird bath to prevent water from freezing if you can. The good news is that all of these mistakes can be fixed starting today. You do not need expensive equipment, you just need understanding. If anything in the story today surprised you, please share it in the comments below. And send this video to a neighbor, a friend who also shares the habit of feeding birds in the yard. Because those tiny lives out there are spreading their wings relying on our love and kindness applied the right way. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next green journey.